In this lesson, we're going to create a UI element that will end our game. Alright, so to get started here, we want to create the elements that we need to show that the game is over. So I went ahead and I created these elements underneath the HUD canvas, so they are parented to that. The first one is called Screen Fader, and this is an image object. So if you right click on HUD canvas, you can go to UI and then Image. Now with that, let's go ahead and select the Screen Fader, and the only thing that I changed in the image component of the image object is that the color is set to white, and I also set the alpha to black. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it transparent. So to change this, you can change the color, and then right here you can change the alpha to black. Now once we've done that, I went ahead and also created a game over text object. Okay, and this is just a text object, and it can be created by right-clicking on the canvas, going to UI, and then Text. I went ahead and I renamed those just to make it easier to understand. And in the text component, you'll see that we have the words Game Over. I'm using a font to drive that. The alignment is middle and center, or center and middle, I should say. Wrap Truncate, we're going to use the best fit, and then I set the color to orange, and then also its alpha is set to black. So left click on that to see that there. So you'll also notice that I have an animator on this particular text. And the reason that I have that is because I'm going to be animating the game over text as well as the screen fader. So let's take a look at how this works here. Let's go ahead and bring up our animation window. So if we go to Window and we go to Animation, where is it here? There we go. Let's go ahead and dock this right over the top of our game screen. You'll see that with the object selected, in this case our HUD canvas, you'll see that I have a new animation clip that I've added. Now if you want to create your own, the only thing that you have to do is simply click on the record button, and it will bring up a dialog window saying, hey, you need to create an animation clip. Just give it the name Game Over Anim. And then whenever you have that created, you'll come back and you'll need to add properties. Now I've already added 3 properties to this just to speed things up a little bit. But to add a property, you simply click on this button, and it will give you access to any of the properties that are accessible on the object that you have selected. So in this case, we're going to be using the Game Over Text object, and we're going to be adjusting its scale. Same thing with the Game Over Text object, we're also going to be adjusting its text color. And then the Screen Fader object, which is our image, we're also going to be adjusting the image color. So if you want to drill down into these certain properties and you want to grab one of those, let's just go ahead and say, let's go to the Game Over Text. If you expand that, you'll see that you have other options. You can go to, let's say, the text script itself, and you can turn it on or enable it and disable it. And if you want to add this property to animate, you simply click on the Add button. Now once you hit Add, it will put it up here in your properties list. Notice that for the Game Over Text, the text.color is not available because it already recognizes that it's in the list. Alright, so how do we animate these? Well, this is done very simply. We need to make sure that record is turned on, and notice that it's highlighted in red. Be careful whenever you are touching or changing any properties at this point, because it will remember that and it will animate that. So make sure that you're being intentional about what you're changing while in record mode. So let's go to the Game Over Text.Scale. Let me expand that, and you'll see that I have access to the parameters of the scale property. I have X, Y, and Z. The first frame that I have here is set to 1 on the scale. But if I take my time slider, just by left clicking and dragging that over to 1 second, you'll see that my scale has changed upward. Now it has changed to 1.25 at this point, and then it's going to start scaling back down to 1 at 1.5 seconds. Okay, so my text is going to grow, and then it's going to shrink back down, just to kind of draw the eye to the game over screen. Now we also have this Game Over Text.Color, and you'll see here that as I move this, the only thing that is changing is the alpha on that. So the alpha is starting out at 0, which is what we set it at to begin with. And then I'm animating it at 1 second to go to full on alpha or full opaque. And so it's going to show up as white. Now there's no other keyframes after that on the color here. Now I also have the screen fader, which I'm also driving the alpha on that. And you can see that it goes from 0 to 1. If you need to add a keyframe at any point, let's say that you want the screen fader to come in a little bit slower, you can add in, or maybe we want it to go back transparent or something like that. We can actually take this value, whatever time code we're on, if we change that value, it adds a keyframe automatically. If you want to delete a keyframe, you select it just by clicking on it and it'll highlight in blue, and then you hit delete. Also, at any time, if you decide that you need to retime your animation, you can retime it just by clicking on these diamonds at the top. Notice how it selects all the diamonds on that section of the time code. So if I want this to actually go over 2 seconds, I can move that over and then have this go to 1.5 seconds, just to make it a little bit longer. Now let's go ahead and hit stop on that for the record. And there we go. Now if you want to see this, let's go to the 2D view really quickly and back up, and we'll see our HUD canvas. And let's hit record really quickly, and then I'm just going to take my time slider and move it over, and you can see a preview of that, okay, what that's going to look like. Very good. Now another really important thing about using UI, and whenever you are layering them on top of one another, you need to make sure that you have the topmost element on the bottom of the list in your hierarchy. So anything that's on the bottom will render first, then the next one up will render second, and then so on and so forth until it gets to the actual HUD canvas. Okay, so in this case, the game over text is going to overlay on top of the screen fader, which is that white image on the background, and then that white image is actually going to block everything else out. So if you want your UI to stay visible, you would take your screen fader and you would put that above the hero text, so that way the screen fader is rendering last. Alright, so now that we have this set, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and have this hooked up. Now I already have the script created for this, but I want to go over it with you just so that way you understand the logic, and we'll get into that in our next lesson.